Episode 8. I was going to try to do episode 7 again because the last one basically stopped recording in the middle of a broadcast, but whatever. So I'm just going to say fuck it. This is episode 8 of Gamerside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Lex, joined here by Mark and Ed.
Hey, this is Mark. How's it going?
And we normally have Wade, our fourth. However, Wade and his wife are celebrating their anniversary, their wedding anniversaries.
Yeah,
Happy anniversary to them.
guys.
So we likely won't be seeing them today, but no, more important things going on, of course. So in the meantime, we're going to be figuring out what game we're going to play. We will more likely be on the Forest, but we're looking at other stuff because PlayStation has a sale, and we like games. And we like buying games that we never finish. So, you know.
All about that backlog.
Whole backlog. My backlog is ridiculous. Like,
It's
The
horrible.
Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I love that game. I haven't even beat it. You know,
I could go a whole year not buying video games if I actually took to my backlog and said, all right, let's finish these things off.
but I'm weird because, Steam. Yeah, no. So I know at least I'm weird on certain games. Like, a certain game that will come out, I would just beast my way through it and finish it in like a couple weeks, depending on how long the game is. Final Fantasy VII, for example, you know, the remake. I guess because I was anticipating that. But The Witcher 3, I really liked it. Went through playing it. I put it down to play other stuff. I've been coming back off and on and forgetting where I was, and I basically had to start over. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, fantastic game. I put it down, never came back. But I said, you know what, I need to finish it. Went back. Actually, I didn't. I remember where I was and went and finished it. Fantastic game. Highly recommend it. If you haven't played it, definitely play it. Great game. I fired up Watch Dogs 2 like a couple months ago, and apparently I never finished. I got always the last mission and put it down. So, so I started playing. It was like, oh, last mission. I was done in like 25 minutes. Oh, okay, and this is it.
This was great.
Deus Ex,
Man.
Human Revolution, the second one. Or was it Mankind Divided? I think Mankind Divided was the first of the newer ones, and then Human Revolution. Either way, this is not bad. And I put it down, I think, because some multiplayer game we decided to play came out, and I haven't gone back since. So I have a number of games that I have not finished that I need to finish.
No, I played both Deus Exes 1 and 2, and that was, that's actually a favorite series of mine. I wish they'd put another one out, but you know, hey, maybe they'll do. Actually, that's why I'm going to get Cyberpunk. What is it, Cyberpunk
2077? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely going to get that.
That is probably my most anticipated game. Well, it's tied for my most anticipated game. It's Cyberpunk 2077 and Ghost of Tsushima. Like, that Ghost of Tsushima looks really good. And when they first showed it, I was like, okay, this is pretty good, you know. And then they went silent for a little while, and I was worried that either because of the pandemic stuff, they were going to get pushed back and they weren't going to be working on it, whatever. But they decided to put out like 18 minutes of gameplay footage, and it actually make me want it more now because they explain some mechanics, and you know, it feels like somewhat what an Assassin's Creed Japan kind of would be, except it seems like it's a little more combat focused, and you have more variety on how you can complete stuff. Like you saw the whole samurai, like honorable samurai approach. I was in full samurai armor, basically walked into some sort of bandit camp or Hun camp, because I think it's the Huns, right? I think it's the Huns who are attacking and the invasion of that island. But he's walking in full samurai regalia and, you know, slicing them down. And then they show the same area at night where he's playing as like the ninja version, the dishonorable ghost as they called it. And, you know, he was using more subterfuge and distractions and stealth attacks and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty dope. And there's foxes in the game and you can pet them. Any game that you can pet a dog or cat, I'm good. I'm like, you know what? You automatically get 2 points added to your score. That's a great feature.
That is a great feature, and that's not in a lot of games. And I do appreciate when you can, and I appreciate when the animal even rewards you back, like they want to stay with you. I think that happened. What was it? It was one of the Far Cries.
Yeah, you can tame animals in Far Cry.
Yeah.
Far Cry 3 and 4. I think you could do that, or 4 and 5, or whichever ones are all. 4 and 5.
and that made me feel like it was worth the time.
Yep.
Even in Skyrim, you can talk to a dog.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, you had missions where you would get one. Like I think Far Cry 5, there was a cougar and also a giant wild boar, and the dog. Yeah, so those you could use them as a companion instead of a human character or whatever. So I don't know about you guys, but when you start running the forest initially, does your fan on your PlayStation start like really firing up?
You know, I have on headphones, so I would have to. Let me take a look. And these are noise canceling. So the only thing I can hear is the AC in the background that I should probably turn off. Because can y'all hear the AC in the background?
Not really.
Perfect. There's no AC in the background. What am I talking about?
Is that the PlayStation? Hmm. I heard something briefly. I think I need to. I think I need to get another can of air. I probably need to pop one of the covers off and really dust it. Haven't done that in a little while. Get
Yeah,
some of that dust up out of there.
I should actually do that. If I love it, or
Do
I
you?
do. I think I do. Eh, I'm partial. Love is such a
Yes.
strong word. Um.
This is the
So
peaceful
yeah,
game because Wade has our regular game with all the mutants and stuff. So this won't be a scary one, which is probably better for you, Marcus. You don't want to go through any, was it recreational terror currently?
yeah. No, I don't see the point in terrifying myself for fun. Um. It's a very odd concept. Never understood it. Um.
I
And
mean,
I can't support it. So,
even more so now. Like you kind of had a harrowing experience last night.
well, yeah. Let's. Yeah. That was. So, as many of you do know, there have been riots going on across the country. And here in Charleston, we had our own riot in a city that I've lived in all my life, 35 years. I never would have thought that I would have seen what happened last night, but earlier that afternoon, like it was thinking around like maybe 5 or 6 ish, they had the march down the street, which was very peaceful, protesting. It's like
Hmm.
protest, yeah, cool. And so we started seeing people running down the street. And you don't think you notice people running down the street. Like you would think, like, if you're in a restaurant, you're not gonna. If you see people running down the street, you're not gonna think about it. But when
Right.
you see people running down the street, like, and they're all running together down the street, you notice that shit. And people started coming into the restaurant saying they're starting the riot, they're starting to riot, and you don't. It didn't resonate in my head at that moment. Like, what do you mean they're starting the riot? Until people started coming to our door, and I'm watching the owners like hold the door closed against people trying to break it open and get into the restaurant. They broke one of the windows. Patrons that we had in the restaurant are running to the back. I'm there in the kitchen trying to figure out what is happening, like what is going on, and eventually it came to a situation to where we had this, we obviously had to shut down, and we eventually had to bar the windows. Some of the windows, one of the windows got broken. We had to bar that one. Um, Once we heard that the restaurant next door to us, that I don't think they reopened for business, they got completely looted, and that's when we started saying, okay, let's get all the liquor off the counters. I mean, I've never ran through that restaurant so much, carrying things to the back, turning off the kitchen, like turn off all the burners to put everything away, put it all away. Like we don't have time to do all this, just get it, run, trying to make sure at the same time that, looters are not going to come and attack us
Mm.
while we're trying to put everything up. And then now we're huddled in the back of the restaurant with all the lights off, hoping that, if they don't see anybody in the restaurant, they won't attack. And it, it, it was just one of those experiences that I've never been through before in my life. And what I remember more so, and it just hit me a little bit later in the whole event, was that I was the only black guy on staff.
Right.
And I'm the only one that's sitting in that restaurant, at least staff-wise, once I gotten outside where we were, because we kept the patrons outside out back where they were more secured, and we stayed inside the restaurant along with some of the security that the owner had called in. And I'm just sitting here and I'm looking, kind of in the streets, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not terrified of the people that's out there. Like,
Right.
I completely understand every single person that's out there in that street, and I see what you're fighting for, and I get it. And yeah, I don't want to get in your way, but at the same time, I'm also terrified for everybody else in that restaurant who can't feel the way that I feel, who don't, who are fearful because they've never been in a situation where things are being attacked and broken and just, there's just, terror in the street. And I understand that it's not terror in the street because I understand that we have been trying so long to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going to listen, then you're going to hear us through our actions. And it's not going to stop. And the crazy thing about it is the part of town that I live in, I reportedly, or, my neighbor said that we're supposed to get hit next tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I have a friend who has a shop in Park Circle, and it's black owned. Like, it's a black owned, but I think there are at least two black owned businesses in Park Circle that I know about. And I worry for them because I don't know if there's going to be any distinction tonight between their businesses and anyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sad to think about, but I don't know how. I know they don't want their businesses attacked. I get that, but I'm also wondering, how do they feel about, are they going to be at their business, standing in front trying to stop looters if that happens? And another thing about it is sometimes, and I know people have talked about this, saying that a lot of the looters are not just black people out in the street rioting. That is a lot of white agitators that start the whole thing and then run away once people have come around and say, "Hey, stop doing this. We're not. This is not one of these places. We're not doing this, or we're not doing it to any of it." There are a lot of. I've seen some videos where people were trying to stop. So supposedly, the video says that they are trying to stop the riots, and there are people who are running in, causing this damage, and then they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to think that that's a thing that we're going through, but I hate to have that happen to them.
Right.
So
Because the
it's
problem is the whole thing with the riots and some themselves. For the vast majority of the people there, they're there to protest, and albeit peacefully, regardless of what the government and the police tend to frame it as or how they respond.
mm-hmm,
But unfortunately, and we've seen this countless times in history, even everything from stuff in like 2016 to back when Mike Brown was killed in Ferguson, all that, you'll see agitators, often people who are not from there coming in to essentially start trouble. We've seen videos of people dressed like Antifa members, not saying they are Antifa, but dressed like Antifa members, in all black with masks on, either breaking windows of business, and all the protesters are moving away or telling them to stop. They're breaking windows or pulling pallets together to start fires or basically cause trouble, right?
mm-hmm,
So, and then, but what happens is once this happens, all of the protesters are framed as rioters and looters. And granted, the agitators, like you said, they'll come in, do their thing, and leave because they're not pumping. They don't care. But
Yeah.
they cause these problems, and then other opportunists who may have either been there to observe or whatever else are taking advantage of it now and deciding that they want to loot. You know, like Target. Target, I'm pretty sure the Target and the AutoZone in Minneapolis were likely, well, at least the AutoZone, I know they have a guy on video just breaking windows and then walking off, you know, trying to sneak off. And Target, you know, there could have been, not saying there could have been a similar situation where someone started issues after, I think they said that Target employees weren't allowing protesters to buy like water and milk.
Hmm.
And but once you know that started, people who were not invested in the whole movement of the protests or anything like that, they decided to come rushing in and breaking stuff and stealing stuff. You know, no matter what the reason, just like the LA riots, no matter the reason for the anger, there's always some people in there waiting just to get their hands on a TV or um, lamps. Like we saw that one woman run away with some lamps and all kinds of. They're just in
Yeah.
there stealing
I
stuff.
saw her. I saw her.
They're taking
Had
advantage
them
of the
lamps in her
mayhem.
hand, getting the
Right.
hell out. Yeah, I saw
Two
you.
double fisted, two lamps, you know.
You know, hauling.
She was there to take advantage of the mayhem. And you're going to see that a
Yeah.
lot, and it's unfortunate, you know. But unfortunately, the media is not going to provide that amount of nuance to separate, you know, the rioters and the looters from the actual protesters. They're just going to lump them in all together. And unfortunately, when you see if the protest is due to a black person being abused by the police or killed by the police, they're going to frame all the black protesters, you know, or all the protesters, they're going to frame them as angry blacks, and then all the dog whistles and racists are going to come out there and, you know, claim the black people problem, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, certain people within our administration, you know, unfortunately federal administration are going to, you know, react in certain ways to vilify the same people instead of actually looking at the fact that the majority of the agitators aren't even involved in this protest. They're going to lump it all together and say, you know, you guys can't, like, we can't get anything done, but you guys stop destroying, blah, blah, blah. When it's like the protests, they're making a scene, you know, to be, they're working to be seen, and it's the agitators and everybody who are, you know, working to take advantage of what's going on.
It is, and that, like for me tonight, I'm also worried about where the area of town where my mom lives. That we have a target there that I don't think got hit last night. Oh, I also heard they hit the Tanger here in North Charleston last night. I heard that by the time I got home.
Right.
And you're right. You're right. And it's just it's not just black people who are out here causing all this pandemonium. It's not.
Right.
And
And there
it's
are
not
going to be some
fair.
black people who are being
Yeah.
opportunists, you know, because
And I'm not
opportunists,
going to say I didn't see black people last night because I definitely did. And
right,
there are black opportunists. And that's just, I mean,
they're in every race,
that's,
every ethnicity. It's people who are,
yeah,
it has nothing to do with your skin color or your background. It's people who are just opportunists, period. But
period.
we're the ones as a whole who are getting blamed for it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just right.
That's just,
Hey, you
yeah,
gonna stop
it's
stealing my
crazy.
fish? But honestly, I'm glad that you're okay, and you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
important for people to understand that you aren't condemning, you know, the protest, and you get the reason behind it, and why you weren't scared for yourself. You have the
Yeah.
empathy to be worried about your folks and people with you, because in protests, sometimes when anger is involved, and a lot of anger is involved, anybody who doesn't look like you or doesn't appear to be on your side can be misinterpreted as an enemy, and you don't want that. You know, we got to be very careful of that to make sure that we're not making enemies out of people who are either just observing, you know, or neutral people. Which, while I do feel like there's times like these, you have to pick a side, or you should pick a side. I'm not going to, if someone's not clearly on the opposite side, then they're not your enemy. You know, some people just aren't involved. You know, some people who, when it comes to protests like these, there's a subset of people who feel like they have the luxury to not get involved, which I understand, but when you look at history, the minority groups, when they are the ones who are being oppressed over time, eventually, when there's none of them left, or so few of them left, then the oppressors have to pick a new target. So they're
Yeah.
coming for another group. And Ed set himself on fire. Good job, buddy. That's napalm,
Yeah,
boy. You
yeah.
still on fire.
I'm making my way to y'all right now. I just had to take care of myself like an adult. At least try and set a fire and make some meals.
Yeah.
Let me act like I got a degree. But yeah, no, I mean, and I last night, I mean, that's the thing, and that whole time I'm sitting there thinking, this protest is meant, and now because this at this point it is direct action. It is that's what's happening. It's just direct action,
Right.
and it comes from not being heard. And I'm thinking to myself, hey man, the persons whose restaurant got hit, I'm coming into work and they're sitting on the phone with it. They're sitting on a video chat with the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, yeah, these businesses do have the ear of the people in power that can change these things.
Right.
And so if they're not going to listen to us with words, then they're going to listen to through action. And because there is speaking money now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what it is. It's speaking in terms of dollars.
Right.
And that's what talks in a capitalistic system.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
speak their language, they'll listen.
And one thing I definitely get is when people are talking about, the business being destroyed and things like that. To me, it's a bit of a nuanced conversation because you have to consider, who these targets, no pun intended, who they are, and unfortunately, when you have protests and riots, it is possible that business could be harmed. The thing is, of course, you want people, especially uninvolved businesses or business that's not specifically being protested against, to be able to avoid harm in some way. But you know that there's a risk of that happening. However, I'll be more inclined to be worried about, say, uh, your business owner's taco shop compared to, say, Target, for example, like a
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar corporation that is clearly insured and has an ability to be able to reopen. I mean, I'll feel for the people who may be temporarily displaced who work there, and it's
Yeah.
good. It was a great move by Target to say that they're going to make sure their employees of that location still get paid.
Hmm.
Which is really
And that's, I
good.
mean, yeah, because it's not those employees' fault. Now, I
Right.
will say, I don't know if y'all saw what I put on Facebook. Um, Somebody that said the same reason why you don't see Hannah Montana, the same reason why you don't see the police shutting down a
Oh
Klan
yeah.
rally is the same reason why you don't see Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus in the same room at the same time.
Yeah.
That shit hit
I
me.
saw that.
I was like, oh, that's a read right there. But yeah, I mean, you don't,
You can't hear
you're
you yet.
not gonna.
You can now.
I can hear you now. What'd you say?
Oh.
What do you mean what I'm doing over here? You know what? You got your spear out just waiting to hit me like you about to attack or something. What you gonna do? You protecting yourself from me? Yeah, I see what the hell you trying to do. Get away from me. Eating blueberries. The
Blueberry,
hell is your problem?
blueberry.
You forgot the blueberries. Wow.
Yeah, no,
Interesting
that's
time.
a valid thing because, again, there have been videos out of people seeing these agitators who look suspiciously well organized in a way. I was watching this one video that there was a guy, he saw a man in all black with a mask hop out of what looked like an unmarked police vehicle and started
Hmm.
following him. And, clearly following, wasn't trying to sneak around, but asked him, like, who are you and stuff like that. And the guy eventually lied to him and told him he was CNN. And then the guy was filming. He's like, "Oh, okay," and then walks off, and then walks back to that vehicle and talks to the two guys still sitting in it, asking who they are. The police is like, "No, they're not police." He's like, "Okay, you guys like the media, CNN, something like that." They're like, "No, we're not CNN." He's like, "Oh, okay, well your friend who just got out of there, he told me you guys are CNN. Why would you tell me that if you're not CNN?" and they didn't really have anything to say, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't put it past, and try not to sound, well, this may sound conspiratorial to some people, but for the most it shouldn't if you know your history. But I don't put it past the police forces to be putting any agitators to try to disrupt protests because
Mm-hmm.
it's a multiple prong approach. You have the overt form where they show up in the riot gear with tear gas and rubber bullets to try to force people to disperse. But then you have the subterfuge. You have that, you know, the subvert version where they'll come in and they'll put people in, they'll plant people into it to cause disruption. And of course, they'll deny this, but there's plenty of places in history where they've seen that where they'll put in, they'll drop in a conspirator into a group to try to either monitor them
Yeah.
and you know we saw that as far back as with the Black Panthers and Fred Hammond now, like the government was putting in agents or hiring, you know, flipping members or getting other black people to pose as Black Panther members, you know, to infiltrate the group, to cause discord, and also to monitor them and feedback. And I mean, there's a whole thing about stuff like that. If anyone just Google's COINTELPRO, there's like an entire story of the government using its tools of deception to monitor its own people. You know, I mean, people have been, um, you know, leery of stuff like the CIA and stuff like that for years because it's been known that they use those tactics. The CIA and FBI stuff use those tactics on its own people. So I wouldn't, definitely would not put it past any group, state, local, or otherwise, to be put, you know, planting people in these areas in these ways to try to disrupt stuff or discredit stuff. You know, that's more likely what we're seeing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them may not be, you know, people working for the government. You do have certain white supremacist groups or even certain wannabe so-called militiamen who are serving as agitators. Like I was reading this article about the so-called Boogaloo Boys, who are these dudes who roll around in Hawaiian shirts and typically armed to the teeth, consider themselves a militia, who their whole thing is to stoke, they're trying to trigger off a civil war. Some of them are, you know, anarchists or claim to be anarchists, are anti-government, and found a way to agitate things and essentially start the civil war between the people and the government. You know, and then there are other ones who themselves are trying to stoke the fire to create a race war.
Yeah. And
So if you
that's like
see,
it's in my head right now.
yeah, and they
This
call
is
themselves
what
the Boogaloo
this is what
Boys
they
because
want.
the Boogaloo itself, which is weird that they call it the Boogaloo, but that's supposed to be that whole thing is supposed to be for the term Boogaloo is, you know, them, it's like the term for the race riot itself, or trying to create that on that mayhem to start a race riot or civil war, which is wild to me. But there are multiple groups like that. You know, like who's been showing up to some of these rallies, like the Boogaloo Boys, the Three Percenters, which you have to, which are anti-police, anti-government group, and some other groups have been, you know, present in these things. You know, that whether they're participating in the protests themselves or they're quote unquote guarding businesses from rioters and looters, which on the
Mm-hmm.
surface sounds good to some people, but it's like you got to be paying attention to what they're doing and why they're doing it. But you're seeing a lot of that. And again, these are, you know, opportunists who are looking for a reason. They don't give a damn about, you know, police brutality. Some of them claim they care about police brutality, and they may. I don't know the Boogaloo Boys like that. That may be one of those things that they're against. Because again, like I said, you know, police brutality isn't just a black people problem. It's just a Mexican people problem. It's not just a minority problem.
Yeah.
It's anything. It's the abuse of police powers being affected upon its citizens, and
Yeah.
you know, there are some groups again like who are talking about there because of police brutality, but there are a bunch of them who are not there for that. They see it as an opportunity to cause mayhem. You know, whether for their own gains, and we're going to be seeing more of that because I feel like this is ever since the what's the guy's name? Not Mike Brown, but I'm I'm doing terrible with names today. I've been trying to remember some of them.
It's a
Freddie
shame that
Gray.
there's so
Freddie
many
Gray, that's
names.
his name. I think ever since the Freddie Gray, his mistreatment and death to the hands of the police, we haven't seen protests kick off this fast in so many places. And I think that's important. Like, granted, this is the side effect of one of the positive side effects of social media, getting information out there quickly and people can organize quickly, and we're seeing it now. But we're seeing it in a lot of groups. You're going to see, with all these protests happening in so many places so quickly. There was one in the city I live in. There was 30 minutes away. Multiple cities here in North Carolina. Like I said, down in Charleston, we've seen them in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, places in
Hmm.
Pennsylvania. Of course, Minnesota. I think there's been some in Oakland and a number of other places. But with multiple groups doing these things, with all these protests popping up, you're going to see the opportunity for more fringe groups and agitators who are not here for that cause necessarily to try to take advantage of the situation. We're going to see a whole lot of that. I think we're going to see more of that. You know, we don't know where the end is
Yeah,
from.
I do. I think we are going to see more of it. And like I've been saying to a lot of people, like it's not gonna be done. Like it's not over until things change.
Yeah,
And
and that's
so,
the
I
thing.
mean, here we go.
That's the tide that we're kind of looking at with this whole thing. You know, there has to be a change, and I don't think this is not the best administrator to get it happen. I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing it in this violent way. Um, with like what this federal administration, at least the executive branch, kind of promotes. Like I mean, y'all president was talking about when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or something crazy like that. Like, dude, you are the sitting president talking about American citizens. Are you serious?
Yeah, no, he's very serious.
Like, you talking about some looting and shooting?
Wait,
Oh, okay.
who
And
the fuck has a chainsaw?
you see who has a chainsaw. You
You
better not throw a
son of a
tree on me.
bitch.
But then you'll see, was it Twitter put him on? They put like incite violence like tag or something on his tweet, which is what it was doing.
Yeah,
Um, and there's a segue for that, into Trump that we've seen, which is absolutely ridiculous. But to stay on topic, you know, I don't know where that change is going to be, or how it's going to come across, or how soon, because this isn't something that people of color, the minorities, especially black people, I always say all black people are people of color, but not all people of color are black people, and it's all to recognize
that's
because
true.
we don't always have the same goals, the same aims, which does that with different ethnic, racial groups, nationalities, and all that. But it's not up to the minority group or the oppressed to fix the system, because we didn't create the system and we can only affect the system but so much. We can demand change. It's up for those who are part of the system or who benefit from the system to demand change as well. And, you know, how much of that are we going to see? I don't want to sound like I'm saying, the protests don't work. They definitely do because they highlight, like, again, to quote MLK, it's a voice unheard. And even though he wasn't the biggest fan of riots, he understood. And he basically said if y'all were listening, then there wouldn't be riots in the first place. Riots don't come out of
Yeah,
nowhere. It's
that's
when
right.
the
If y'all
shit
wasn't
bubbles
listening
over.
in the first place.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
shit's bubbling over, and it basically comes ahead. People don't just riot. If we didn't have problems to begin with, a riot wouldn't just happen. That would be the last thing. But it's been going on for so long before we were born, before our parents were born. It's been going on for so long that this kind of stuff is going to happen. And you hate to see destruction and people being harmed and stuff. But after a certain point, you know what other options are there to get people to listen to you? It's like the little
yeah.
kid. You done dropped the tree on me and messed up my
Did I drop a
armor.
tree on
You
you?
dropped a tree on me, destroyed my armor. Boy, I tell you, look at this. Look at
Oh
that kid.
shit.
You are something else.
Oh no.
You're supposed to yell timber,
No, because my
but
mom, because I was telling her every like all the things I was saying. She was like, "Yeah, you're right," and it just it felt like to me it was just like she had been through this before. Like this is like
mm-hmm.
she understands, and this is this. it's not like it was commonplace, but it's like, yeah, no, she just understood. And I would say me and my mom rarely do we agree, but at that level, it's something of that nature. I wish we wouldn't have that. I wish we wouldn't both have that experience, because I would have wished by the time I had gotten to where she had me, things would have been different. And it seems very much like things are very much still the same. And that's just crazy to me.
Right.
So
It will not.
and like last night, I took no pleasure in what happened. It wasn't like I was sitting there saying, "Go, go, get what you got to get." Nah, man, I was scared for everyone,
Yeah.
because this is not something that I would not have wished last night on anyone to have happened.
Yeah.
Just not at all. You don't want to see people go through that.
Yeah. I will say I'm on. You know, I was at. I'm kind of two sides. Like I'm more so for the protest, and part of me is like, unfortunately, in a protest, these things are subversive, and something's going to happen that someone doesn't like, and it's going to be unfortunate. I hate it for these businesses and stuff. So if there are casualties of it, however, it's a little different to me for it's on casual looting and stuff. Like if people are just truly sick of it and burning everything down, then I get that, and you hate to see how it's going to affect some people. Um, but it's again, like all this could have been prevented a long time ago, a
A
very, very
long
long
time
time
ago.
ago. Like, all this stuff
Very,
could have
very
been
long
prevented.
time ago.
So,
But here we are.
yeah. And one of the things you want to see better for people who come after you. You always want it to be better,
Yeah.
and you don't know when you're going to get that. You would hope that it would be sooner rather than later. The stuff that our grandparents went through, they didn't want our parents to go through, and then our parents didn't want us to go through the stuff they went through, and so on and so forth. I don't want my kids to go through it, and their kids are their kids. You want the generation that comes after you to be doing better than you.
Yeah. And it's just, I think it's for a lot of people, their grandparents, and they're just, they're watching their grandkids, or they're watching their grandkids go through exactly what they went through. That they're thinking that they went through that so that their grandkids would not have ever have to go through that.
Right.
But yeah, and you're right. It's just it's sad, but we get it, and it could all have been avoided.
It
But
could have been. And I think in this age, my hope is that this stuff will be more effective in the long run because, unlike when our parents and grandparents were going through it, almost everyone has cameras now. Back in say the 50s and 60s, cameras were luxuries. You didn't really see things like that. You know, but now you can have a cell phone in your pocket for a few $100s with a camera that can record things for the world to see in an instant. You know, and you don't. They didn't have that luxury back then.
didn't.
Just like this quote that's being attributed to Will Smith. What was it? The race is not new. It's just this. Yeah, this race is not new. It's just being filmed. I may be paraphrasing, but I mean that's pretty much true. It's not getting worse. It can't be hidden as well now.
That how bad it's it's just not. It's not that it's getting worse. It's just we're getting to see firsthand how bad it is.
Exactly. You're seeing it front. They can't hide it from you. It's right there in your face
Yeah.
now.
So, until shit gets better, shit gets better. Here we go.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not
I
hopeful
wish I could.
for. Oh, go ahead.
Not that I wish I could feel differently, but can't.
Yeah. I will say that I'm not super hopeful currently. This is why I think people need to get out there and vote. And I'm already seeing people talking about like not voting or whatever. And that's up to y'all. I think that's super. But if you're not going to vote, fine. Just stop telling other people to not vote. But
Yeah.
with this current, I don't think this is going to be the administrator to get it done. Like we just saw with the Trump administration that he just vetoed a fairly bipartisan student loan forgiveness bill, where, and this wasn't even the big bill. This was the bill that was designed to help people who got loans to be able to, um, well, so Betsy DeVos had proposed or tried to change
Ugh.
the statute to be able to, for people who went to schools like those for-profit colleges and stuff like that, that basically defrauded them into getting student loans and made it so, and they eventually went out of business and people didn't get anything to show for it. For profit schools, she was trying to narrow. So the Obama administration put in ways for people to be able to get their money back or have those particular loans forgiven, which you would think is fair. This is clear fraud. The school failed. It went under, and I don't have a degree to show for, which is what I was paying for. So they're forgiving those federal loans, not private loans. You still have to, deal with that. But there's a way to get those federal loans forgiven, and Betsy DeVos changed it, was attempting to
Watch
change
out,
it in a
Shrey.
way, like she was attempting to change it in a way to get, to narrow the requirements, to essentially make it more difficult um, for people to be able to get loan forgiveness in those situations. And again, this is not the overall forgive everybody student loans. This is for people who've been defrauded. And she was fighting. She basically trying to narrow the requirements, make it more difficult. Because her whole thing was saying that it shouldn't be on the taxpayers for this kind of thing. When it's like it shouldn't, but at the same time there should be some clear protections for people who are defrauded by something that's presenting themselves as an
That could have
educational
been right.
institution.
Yeah, you could
You
have had
know,
oversight for that.
right?
That could have
Because
been
like
prevented.
these for-profit schools pop up, and it's apparently too easy to get accreditations. They're popping up, and people are being taken advantage of. So I want to say the House had put up a bill that basically pushed back to prevent her from being able to change that, and to keep those protections in place. And I believe that um, so it passed through the House pretty healthily, and then it passed through the Senate decently. It had like I think 10 Republicans in the Senate were on board with it. So it passed through the House and the Senate, got the Trump's desk, he vetoed it. Why he vetoed it? Of course, he vetoed it because his girl put it in place. His hire, Betsy, his appointment is the one who kind of put this in place, and he's like, he vetoed it. So now the way the rules of the veto work, it's going to have to go back to the House, but it'll take a lot, but with I think a certain majority vote, they can override the president's veto. But that's like
Yeah, two
that's
thirds.
yeah, but that's unprecedented. Like they didn't have 2/3 to begin with, but if they can get 2/3, they can override it, which I think is necessary because
Yeah,
why are you making it more difficult for that? And on top of that, um, the Department of Education under DeVos' leadership has had issues with being able to properly like identify and make sure the people who were defrauded and qualify for these things are actually getting their money back. And people's credit is being ruined because it's showing they're defaulting on these loans that should have been forgiven within this time frame. So they're already doing things that's not benefiting the people who got caught in these situations in the first place. You know, I mean, we're in a country they're quick to bail out businesses and stuff that either deal with fraud or just keep them from failing. But when people are victims of unfortunate corrupt capitalist system that allow them to be defrauded because they're trying to get an education to better themselves, then why are you stripping these protections away? Like that's a problem,
yeah. Why would you want to ruin that?
right? But it's about a dollar. It's a private thing,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's all about capitalism, and I mean, when when you understand that, you then understand the type of language that you then in turn need to speak with.
yeah, and just the thing on top of that, it goes back to how capital in this country works in the first place. A lot of these things are for save, like, of course, they're trying to reduce deficits to save money and stuff like that. But imagine if all your cronies, Republican and Democrat, who put laws and regulations in place a long time ago, didn't allow these corporations to be able to skate by without paying their taxes. Think about how thick the U.S. pocketbook would probably be if these multi-billion-dollar corporations that operate here pay the amount of tax they're supposed to be paying and not taking advantage of loopholes. You know, it would be much easier to
Yeah.
get to pay for certain things. Um,
I'm about to put a marker right now for this cave. Yeah,
yeah,
it will be much easier to have things being paid for to take care of these companies pay their fair share.
right. Oh yeah, this cave is. I think yeah, we were down this cave because the plane's right over there. Um,
Which is true.
yeah, but yeah, yeah, the companies were actually paying their taxes the way they should instead of hiding their money or using these loopholes to keep from paying income tax stuff like that. Amazon, all these huge corporations are doing these things. Imagine where those taxes could be used for. But then again, it's hard to say because our country is in love with war, so they probably just stole more money into the defense budget when that shit's already bloated to begin with. You
Mm.
know, yeah. Yeah, but even speaking more on this administration, you have this whole thing where you got to worry about, now because Twitter done made Trump mad. He's
Huh.
basically trying to put executive order
Tree.
to reduce the protections of these companies, social media platforms, from being able to keep them from being sued. He's trying to reduce the ability for them to be protected from lawsuits based on the content they're using and putting out. Um, to me, there's a bit of a plus minus thing with the way it's put up because the problem is the reason he's bringing up and trying to put an executive order is he got mad because he thinks they're trying to censor him just because they fact check the lies he's putting up. Like dudes been
Yeah.
tweeting whole lies and they fact checked him and now he's crying censorship. Like dude, you were out here lying and now you're out here
You
inciting
are, yeah,
violence.
you're out here just lying. Like you're just lying.
An executive order because he's mad at the CEO of Twitter basically. He's mad at Twitter. Like how is that not a complete abuse of the office of the president? Yeah, because the thing is, his cronies and the people who follow him and the people on his side in Congress don't give a shit. You know, they're worried about the bottom line. They're worried about the dollars, and not the money for the country. They're worried about lining their own pockets. That's why certain people like Mitch McConnell and other Republicans and some Democrats and independents need to get up out of there. This is one of the reasons I believe in term limits. Because if you can't accomplish your goals in 12 years in the House, then or in the Senate, you need to go.
That's it. You're done. Yeah.
You should not be able to be in there for life. Basically, we don't need more strong
Yeah.
thermos and stuff like that. You shouldn't be here for
You
that
do
amount of time.
not. Oh man. Woo. That man.
Like, how
No.
much
So
further does it need to go? Like, it's just wild to me. Yeah, he put in his
so
whole executive order. It's just like the last time where this was, I think, earlier in his term. But I'm trying to remember what it was. He tried to. Oh no, he's done it a few times. He basically threatened states to withhold aid because the governors aren't being nice to him. Um,
yeah.
he's talking about like I think changing points on like either not charitable giving, but investing like looking into certain groups and how they operate because of stuff they say to them, and it's completely ridiculous. Like that's why you can't have an unqualified person who operates off of slights in office. Like dude had knee-jerk reactions because people check him in a way, and now he's mad and upset. He's a petulant child. You know, he wants to pick up his ball and go home, but it just happens to be it's not really his ball. It's the neighborhood's toys that he's trying to take him home. Like,
I don't want to play with him anymore.
I mean, that's where we gotta
I
get him out.
don't want him
And
to go
all
home.
these people talking about not voting and stuff like that, you get the fuck out of my face. Like all these protest vote stuff,
Yeah. That's
I don't
not
want to
gonna
hear it.
work.
You know. And here's the thing. One thing I don't get the people who a lot of people who I know who complain about the two-party system and not being enough independence and all this kind of stuff, all them not being in place or available and everything, they are silent when it comes to state and local elections.
Yep.
Like like I said, if you're a libertarian or part of the Green Party and you feel like they should be somebody from them should be president, or whatever else, Why is it that you don't vote, show up, or say anything when it's for state and local elections? Why aren't you voting trying to get a libertarian mayor? You know, why aren't you trying to get a Green Party alderman? Do you even know what an alderman is? You know, why aren't you trying to get more people on the
Exactly. Do you even
council?
know what your alderman is?
You know, why
Yeah.
aren't you trying to get more people on the city council who aren't just on these two parties? You know, like I'm registered, like I'm a registered voter and I'm unaffiliated. You know, I'm an issues voter. I don't vote on party lines. I think that's stupid. But the thing is, if you believe that a certain group of people should be, you know, part of it, or that the two parties is a problem, then you need to understand you got to work from the ground up. You know, you can't just come in. You know, back was the 2016, you had was it David Johnson? I think his name was Libertarian candidate, and then you had Jill Stein, her old thieving, you know, Shicel, who basically stole those people's money when she was trying to get the GoFundMe to get a recount. She stole them people's money, but you don't hear from them any other time. You don't see them campaigning for any other Green Party or Libertarian members anywhere else. They only show up when it's time to run for president, and I'm convinced it's just so they can get their hands on those campaign dollars and run off with them. And then they come back around later, or there's another third party candidate. Like the only two who were kind of about something were Ross Perot and Ralph Nader. They were typically putting their own money up and showing up, and I think they were even like trying to support local candidates in different areas and everything, actually operating like a political party. But you just have these people who are loosely affiliated almost who don't show up, but then they'll turn around and you know, try to get voted for president, and then the people who want them in place, you know, will essentially talk about protest voting or non-voting and um, hold their vote hostage, quote unquote, because who they want isn't the person who's available to become president. But that person didn't put in the work from the ground up to be able to get anything in place or anything done. Because honestly, like, how many, like, we probably don't have very many, if any, Libertarian or Green Party members in Congress right now. How effective is a third party president who, if they actually get elected, how effective are they going to be when the Congress that they have to work with is pretty much run by just the two parties they're not even a part of? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I mean, it would be a lame duck president, really.
yeah, you know, think of
Nothing.
that type.
You couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, you know, some people, if you're a Bernie supporter, I mean, it sucks for you in this way, but Bernie was probably going to be closer to a lame duck president in a way because he, even though he's independent, he was trying to run, he was trying to ride the Democratic nomination train, and he was trying to get, you know, use their power essentially to get elected. But where is he putting in the work? Like as he's campaigning, he's talking about holding Democrats and Republicans, you know, to the fire or whatever. It's like, okay, that's cool and all, but you're trying to use their chips to gamble with, you know. And what have you done in your 30 or so years of service at that time? Like, what are you accomplishing? So, you know, again, I'm a person who hates the two party system because, you know, most things in life aren't binary. Outside of, you know, computers and electricity, like they try to act like everything's just off and on, left or right, up or down. You know, politics shouldn't be binary. The two party system is detrimental to a true democracy, but people gotta be willing to put in work from the ground and not just try to start at the top. Trickle down economics doesn't work. Trickle down presidency, trickle down politics isn't going to work. And people gotta stop trying to force that kind of thing. But we're also not going to get a whole lot done with this current administration, so get him up out of here, man.
Yeah.
I don't want like people talking about some him and Joe Budden, Joe Budden, him and Joe Biden
Joe,
are
get
basically the
Joe
same.
Budden in there. Get him
No,
in there.
that'd be terrible. But it's like him and Joe Biden are basically the same, and blah blah blah. It's like, no, they're not the same. You know, and I'm not even a person. I didn't vote for Joe Biden in the primaries. I didn't want Joe Biden for president. But you know how I'll take him over? I'll take him over Trump all day, every day. Why? Because one, he's even though I didn't agree with all his policies and put him in place, stuff like that, he has the experience to be a president. You know, same reason I voted for Hillary. She had the experience. You know, as they always doing, and it's not being a president isn't just a solitary job. You're going to have to appoint a cabinet, and
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have
almost
to.
every president outside that I can, at least I was allowed to witness, other than Trump, has put very capable people in place. Even if I
Well,
didn't
that's
agree
the
with the
whole point.
policies, you put capable people in cabinet. George W. Bush had a capable cabinet. Obama, capable cabinet. George H.W. Bush, capable cabinet. Um,
I mean, that's the whole point
Clinton,
because I
capable
mean,
cabinet.
you understand what you know and what you don't know, and you surround yourself with the people that can help you run this nation. That's what I mean. That's the point of a leader: is to surround yourself with capable people.
Yeah, that's it. And people should be leery of anyone who thinks any leader who thinks they're a genius and they know it all, because then,
Yeah,
like, the true sign of intelligence is to understand what you don't know.
exactly.
Like, you don't know everything, and as soon as you get someone like Trump who thinks they know everything, then you don't get capable people who hire. Like, why in the world is Ben Carson over HUD? That makes no sense. This man is he's a brilliant medical mind, but you have him over HUD. What? Betsy DeVos never worked in public education, but she's over the Department of Education now. What? And then the people he does put in place who knew what they were doing, they end up quitting or he fires them because clearly they're smarter than him and, aren't going to be there. So, that, and then you turn around and he puts in his cronies in place, or people who think like him. Like who was the head of the FCC? Was it former Verizon president? That's a clear, conflict of interest to me. You know,
Yeah,
just like you're trying to get the guy who from AccuWeather to be over NOAA, which conflict of interest right there. But they don't see those things, and there's no accountability. Especially with someone who thinks they know everything. So, again, I'm not a Biden fan. I would have rather seen Julian Castro or Elizabeth Warren get the Democratic nomination. You know, but the thing with Biden, one of the most important things is if he's elected. Say it again, Ed. We can barely hear you again. Oh, okay. I can hear you now. Though.
I am a trained log pusher, sled pusher. Ed, do you need gasoline for your chainsaw? Is that what happened? Did you run out of gas? It makes too much noise. What does that
It's
mean?
pretty
I don't
loud.
care about noise. It's effective. It is effective. What do you mean it
Mhm.
makes too much noise?
I
Can't
already finished
believe
that.
it. Cannot
Blueberries,
believe it.
blueberries. I'm planting blueberries.
We're building a
Mm-hmm.
home.
Mm-hmm. This is a ranch.
Building building a home.
Yeah. But like I was saying, with Biden is one of the most important things is the person who's elected president for the next 4 years is probably going to appoint two Supreme Court judges because Clarence Thomas he's considering retirement, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg she's not
She
going to be with
ain't,
us
I
long.
mean, it's
I
over.
don't know if she's going to. I would love for her to make it another 4 years, but I don't think she's going to make it another 4 years.
Let her
You
live
know,
forever, please, Lord.
so if she passes, that's one appointment, and if Clarence um, puts in his word for retirement, that's another one. So two appointments. Like Trump's already put what Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and now you're gonna
Yeah,
have,
of
and
course, yeah.
he could potentially put in two more, which Gorsuch agreed with his opponents tonight. He's at least a capable judge. Kavanaugh should never been a Supreme Court judge at all. He is not rated as a Supreme Court judge. He's no justice, you know. And but the whole thing is, you just have that. That's one of the more important things. There's multiple things that people they just think. A lot of people, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people just look at who the voting for president as if just putting one guy in office. No, it's an entire cabinet. You have to consider who they're going to put in place in their cabinet, who they may be able to put in place in the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court, their what their rulings of are going to often have way more direct effect on your personal life, you know, and people don't think about those kind of things. Just like executive orders and that kind of stuff. When you think about when you're voting, like any type of statutes or anything like that, that the executive branch directly affects, directly influence, that stuff is on. This stuff is on the ballot, but people only think they're voting for one guy on president. Like that's not the case. You know, this is a whole system, and any person you put in place for presidency, the effects it's going to have is going to be far-reaching for a long period of time. You know, but you're going to turn around and have, you know, some president is going to spend time trying to undo what the last president did, and then try to get elected for another 4 years so to do their stuff. And it's not going to work that way. But people are just, you know, worried about the optics and everything. And again, like I said, Biden's far from the perfect candidate. But every single candidate, people are going to find something to complain about every time. They always do find something to complain about. But the effect that Trump is going to have directly, outside of all the personal stuff he does and fairly reprehensible stuff he does on a personal level, the effect he has is more far-reaching than that. So yes, Biden has some accusations against him. Biden is probably a little too touchy-feely with women around, stuff like that. I'm going to go on record and say I don't believe what's the name of Tara Reid, the woman who's using him now. Like, there's already holes in her stuff, and you know, people aren't buying it. I'm like, it sounds shaky. I don't necessarily believe her. I wasn't there. I'm not trying to say Biden's too good of a dude or whatever to do things like that. Not at all. It's just something ain't clean there. But when it comes to, you know, if he's going to be an effective president, that's the more important thing. And we have evidence that Trump is not an effective president. We have evidence that this is not Trump's skill set. You know, I mean, think about it. With Clinton, I did not care about, you know, what happens with him and Monica Lewinsky, as far as the effect it would have on me.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't
Like,
care either.
granted, it was trash. You know, between the two wife and him um, using basically his power and influence, you know, take advantage of Lewinsky or whatever. You know, and granted, they know the truth of what happened between them. And not saying I don't believe it. Of course, you believe it. That's just improvement. But you know, what in the long term, other than making him look gross, which is, you know, valid, what effect on the country did it have? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was what it is. But gents, how long we been on here? It's been about an hour.
Has it been
And
about an hour of
yeah,
my life?
yeah, I gotta start getting ready to head out and take care of some family stuff here pretty soon.
Well,
Um,
hey, it's been a great, episode.
yeah, a good little hour. You know what I'm saying? And, um, exactly. And of course, glad you're safe. Glad nothing happened. You know.
Yeah, yeah, man. We finally made it out the back. Um, Security team, my owner called. Yeah, they got us out and got to our cars. Thank God my car wasn't vandalized in any shape or form. I'm very grateful for that because there's glass all around it,
Yep.
broken windows all throughout. But yeah, man, I got home safe.
Oh,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
before I
crazy.
forget, the dude in Salt Lake City who decided he wanted to be, you know, Hawkeye and take out his bow and arrow to use against protesters, got his ass whooped, tried to blame it on two black dudes, and it came out there was a whole bunch of white people basically jumped his ass. So fuck him, and
Mm,
he got what he deserved. They
mm.
actually flipped his car over and set on
Uh,
fire. Uh, Apparently, like, I think he was, from where it looks, I think he was stuck in traffic and then, you know, I guess got fed up or whatever. And I don't know if he was directly threatening people or people were saying stuff, but at some point he got out of his car and he's standing next to his car with a bow and arrow out, and someone foolishly tries to run up on him, and you don't see it directly, but he lets an arrow go, and you see a guy fall, like kind of slightly off screen, fall into the screen, and the people swarmed him, beat the shit out of him. And then, of course, he tries to claim that, you know, two black dudes beat him up. It's like, dude, nah, it was a whole bunch of white, possibly Latino people, maybe a couple black people who swarmed you. The crowd got you. Right. But they flipped his car over and set it on fire. So
Okay, well, that's what you do, I guess. That's a
yeah,
yeah. That's
that is a great question. I
yeah.
don't
What
think he
did you
thought it
think?
all the way through. So
Doing something ain't always the best option. Just doing anything ain't doing something. Sometimes you just need to, actually have a plan as to what you trying to do. Because
right,
just going out there and doing something dumb or whatever. Like I had to do something. Like no, no, you didn't have to do anything.
no,
You
you.
actually could have.
If
Yeah,
someone had done
oh
anything, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's just crazy.
absolutely.
But yeah. Either way, y'all be safe out there. Mark, be safe tonight when you go to work. You
Yeah,
know what
we'll
I'm
see,
saying?
man.
And
Round
if you
two, see
feel
what they
like you
got.
need to, like not go, don't go. You know what I'm saying? But if you feel like you still want to go and you do, just be safe. Man.
Yeah, no, I'll do my best, man. I'll let y'all know.
All right. Well, appreciate y'all for hopping on. Of course, think we got a smooth hour out. But it's been Gamerside Chat episode 8, something, whatever.
Ocho.
We'll be back in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whenever. But appreciate it. Y'all be easy.
Deuce.